Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines AEW Dynamite review. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and I'm joined by James Boyd of One Nation Radio to review a competent wrestling show here on YouTube and also available in podcast form later. Links in the description or head over to WrestlingHeadlines.net for all your latest wrestling news. James, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, all things considered. Last night was a very fun show, especially the first hour. There are some things we're going to get to in the second hour, but I say it was mostly good, mostly very good.
Yeah, mostly good. It's a delight to be returning to these reviews, talking about something good. Yes, I mean, to be fair, like the last review I did with James, that was, if I'm right, that was the final Cody Rhodes match against Sami Guevara in the ladder match. Like, going by what I had as a thumbnail and things, it's like, wow. Just, yeah, a banger episode that week, and I get James on, and we get a banger first hour. Like, I'm watching it just thinking, oh my god, like, there's a reason that crowds back to back to back are white hot, really, really loud, like, crowd after crowd. Doesn't matter the state. Like, this week they were in Texas, in Austin, and the crowd were going crazy. That first hour was incredible. And yeah, there's a reason for that. And then, of course, second hour happens, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is where we've got some AEW criticisms. Like, they're not immune, they're not perfect, obviously, compared to, like, obviously the bad faith takes you see on Twitter. It's like, oh, but you don't criticise AEW. Yes, we do. Like, what world do you live in? So, yeah. Don't forget, people, Twitter is a curated feed. Like, it's an algorithm. It'll read what you click on, what you engage with. Which is why it's wise to not click on and engage with any post that kind of gets that anger and anxiety within you, because you'll start seeing more of those posts, because Twitter goes, oh, you clicked on that, I'll give him another one like that. Yeah, just don't click on it, don't engage. That's the best way to curate your Twitter feed. And I constantly keep forgetting that. And then I'll click on a bloody post that's extremely right-wing, because I want to see people ripping them apart in the comments. I'm like, no, don't engage. It's not what you do. Not at all. Anyway, so AEW Dynamite, the main question I'm meant to be talking about, instead of moaning about accidentally clicking on things on Twitter, is CM Punk, who after his match this week signalled the title belt across his chest. So the main topic is CM Punk set to be the next champion, or at least challenge Hangman at Double or Nothing, in quite an interesting kind of scenario there, where when you think about what are the biggest matches AEW could put together for Double or Nothing, and most of them include CM Punk. Like, in terms of the biggest matches they can do, it's someone versus CM Punk. Because more often than not, the other matches I'm thinking of, I want to bake in the oven a little bit more. So, like, what's the best you can do right now? And for me, it's CM Punk versus someone, and who better than the champion himself, especially as he's just finished his white-hot, like, storyline feud with MJF. It feels like that's the perfect kind of, like, a little rest between those kinds of feuds, instead of, like, just getting angry at everybody like Kingston and then MJF. Here he gets, no, wrestling and go for the title. He said it beforehand, before MJF interrupted, he was talking about going for the title all the way back in November. Now we can actually do it. So, James, first off, do you think CM Punk has any chance of becoming champion, and do you think they hold it off all the way to Double or Nothing?
I think that he will be champion eventually. It's really hard because, in a perfect ideal sense, he would have it all set up for where he wins it in All Out in Chicago or whatever, right? But given how they seem to have, pushed MJF versus CM Punk as a de facto number one contender feud, where both of them were gunning for the title. They went 1-1 against each other, or 2-1 if you include the rematch, or the match restarting, MJF winning twice, both times by cheating. To leave out of that, to then officially have him say, "I want the belt." Man, like, it would just be a perfect thing to where, like, he's somewhere in the company, does all this cool stuff for a full year, and then he actually, like, gets his first title shot in Chicago, and even wins it as the top draw in the company and all that stuff for a full year. And you could say, like, look at the patience and restraint they had. Like, they didn't just, like, he didn't just crush through people, like, win the belt in like 4 months as if he's like I don't know, like Hogan in WCW or Karrion Kross in NXT or something like that. You can say they had the restraint of a full year. But I mean, to be honest, Hangman won that belt in early November. In my opinion, if I was doing, worldwide MVP, he'd be in the top 3 right now for this year, given the stuff he had with Danielson, given the stuff he just had with Cole, the matches he's had so far this year. The crowd loves him. They've proven that he can main event and, the buy rates, stay the same or even go up. Like, this is a success story of them being able to do it with a guy that wasn't a former IWGP heavyweight champion or a former WWE Universal or WWE champion. Like, this is their guy. But we all kind of thought like CM or MJF could be the next champion, and then they can get it to go from MJF to Punk. But like, it seems like they've kind of exhausted that. MJF's clearly more focused on Wardlow. They could do it. I just wish that it would have timed up better for All Out, because then you'd be like, okay, perfect. We already know what's going to happen. But this is a little more interesting. Like with Adam Cole going into probably what will Battle of the Belts with Paige, another great match they'll have again. You can then just transition right to getting to that. I just wonder what's going to keep CM Punk afloat for the next few weeks. After this, like maybe it's a Bret Hart interaction with FTR. They're teasing this Bret. They're teasing this Bret Hart. They just had a Bret Hart tribute match while he's still alive. They just did it last night. So I it could happen. It could happen. It would be very cool. I don't think anything they do right now at this point could go poorly unless they rig it up to explosives and hope they're best. Outside of that, I think at the top of the card, at the very top or in the title picture, they're pretty solid right now.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's the culmination of so much months of planning and figuring out who you actually want. It gets to that point where it feels so full of depth, which is amazing to feel. Like a lot of this, I feel like it's amplified by me watching the competition currently, just because it's WrestleMania season. So when you switch back and forth, you really do feel it. It's like, oh, everything one company does really well, you sense in the other one when it's bad. And like obviously, like at this point, WWE putting effort into their women's division for WrestleMania, and you really sense that when you watched Dynamite this week. And when you go back, and it doesn't mean it's good effort, but you can see the effort is there in WWE. Whilst this week, back to kind of flat standard AEW, unfortunately. But when you look at the title scene and just the sheer depth that is there in AEW Dynamite, you look at all the number of names, and you're talking multiple people. Like, I wouldn't be unhappy if CM Punk becomes champion, purely because I know afterwards that there'll be content there. Like, there's all this stuff you can play off it. And the thing with Hangman, though, which was brought up a bit, was, yeah, the gates have been good under Hangman Page. Like, AEW proved with Jon Moxley that he can have a babyface champion and it can work. Because we've just been used to a world where really the only time a babyface champion feels hot is when they're in the chase. That's just kind of the world we've become used to. But now, obviously, if we've watched outside of WWE, for those of us who watched New Japan and saw Okada hold as a babyface the entire time, hold that belt for what, 2.5 years? Like, or 2-3 years? Like, we've seen it be done for a long time and work, and of course the gates absolutely skyrocket in that meantime. And you build up that desire for someone to eventually take that crown from him. But yeah, Paige is proving like the gates are good. The TV audience, whilst watching with Paige the champion, has been good. What really helps as well is just the depth across the show. Like, not only is he champion, there's a high caliber and a high amount of talent that can go for him, which really makes it an interesting scene.
Yeah, and that whole Cole match from Revolution, like in that feud with him just basically bumping around, Red Dragon and Adam Cole like they're geeks. Like, they are positioning him or trying to present him as the man, even if he isn't the top draw in the company, or even in the top 3 or 4 or 5. It doesn't matter. Like, they have done all that work with him. The crowd believes in him, and like them putting him in these spots and him succeeding is proof that like the crowd in the audience and the people that will spend money on it buy him on top. Like, sure, you have to buoy it, around, you know, a super hot CM Punk feud, but like that's sign of a good promotion to where like you can have any a certain number of a select group of people be bought at as could be, you know, challenge for the title or be champion, and then, you know, second from the top, third from the top, you have these cool things that other people are doing. Like that's what New Japan, that's what peak New Japan was doing when Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi and Shibata was still around. Like that is what Stardom is doing right now. That is what NXT was doing 3 years ago. Like, so yeah, I'm really have enjoyed like this Hangman Page run. And this is somebody that, as you know, like I was really like dragging my feet compared to a lot of people that, you know, were just ready to cheer him and crown him, because it's like, what has he proven it to be able to do besides get cheered? Like what makes him interesting outside of being around Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks? And like they were able to figure it out. So like my hat's off to him, and like I'm at a point now where it's like his matches are so damn good. Like I don't know if I want to necessarily go straight to CM Punk, because like I'm not in love with his matches, especially particularly the MJF matches. Like last night, if you want to give me like, you know, 8 of those for the rest of the year, sure, sign me up. But like CM Punk doesn't have those, you know, every 3 weeks or so necessarily.
And like Hammond Page have been booked to just have absolute bangers whenever he wrestles, which really, really helps with that perception. Like the really fun multi-man tag last week, which I wish I reviewed last week's show because it was incredible. And
yeah, it was a blast.
And then like here, the thing I really like about it as well is he's shown to have character faults, whilst also when it comes to the bell ring, because that keeps him interesting as a character. If he's not the perfect person, like Adam Cole can get under his skin really easily, and his new friends come out to save him. But his new friends aren't as quick as his other friends in the Dark Order. It's like, oh, I like it. We'll talk about it in a second when we get to it. But giving your babyface champion actual characteristic faults that stick with the faults you've already given him, it's like, oh, yes, it's great. There's so much to work off of that. And of course, CM Punk will stick a knife into those and twist, which is something I would love to see. Like the Punk doing what he did against the heels verbally, but against a beloved babyface. It's like, oh, it's a dynamic I really want to see. Like the Bryan Danielson thing of, was he a heel all along, or is he this just who he is? Which we didn't think he was a dick because he was doing it to the heels, but now he's doing this same thing to the bad guys. Oh wait, no, he's a bit of a dick. Yeah, he told you when he returned. It's like, I'm a bit of a dick. I don't know how long he'll continue to cheer me, but I enjoy it. Yeah, he told you that at the start. Just wait until he's doing this to the people that you like. See how it goes there. But yeah. And for the match itself against Dax Harwood, when this was announced, Twitter just started salivating. It's like, Dax Harwood matches are so rare as a singles competitor, but they're great every time. He just gets he's allowed to wrestle that kind of throwback style, and it's a joy to see on AEW. Just given some times that always play out. This is the first time seeing Punk live and in living colour since the MJF Dog Collar match at Revolution. James' reaction perfect. I will say, Excalibur said that on commentary, but didn't give like any pause. It was like he said the phrase like, "Does he even realise he's made a put?" I'll see.
Okay, I didn't pick that. I didn't catch that one.
The Masked Man. He didn't make any reference to the Bloody Maid. Anyway, so I nicked it and pretended it was on purpose. The Ass Boys watching on from ringside set up a match for next week as technical soundness personified is displayed before us. Reached that awesome point of back and forth where I just stopped taking notes and enjoyed the action, totally immersed in the flow. The Bret Hart shouts here once again as Dax reversed a GTS attempt into a sharpshooter, playing off of what was said last week. Punk asked, "You want to play submissions?" and reversed into the Anaconda Vice for the win, signalling for the belt to a huge reaction from the crowd. Is Punk our double or nothing contender? And like personally for me, I'd use this time to kind of, again, you can distract. If Bret Hart comes in, that's a worthy distraction. Just to kind of keep him away from Page a little bit as Page finishes his feud with Cole. Because obviously Punk's not going to interact with Page until this stuff with Adam Cole's finished. But you can signal double or nothing, it's going to happen. You can start signalling now and just get that course ready for when Adam Cole, when Adam Cole came out, they'd signalled everything to tell you Adam Cole will be facing a Page at Revolution. They told you for months it's going to happen. But they didn't tell you, they didn't just scream it to the camera. They didn't go, oh my god, I reckon Adam Cole's going to challenge him after the match. Like, no, you don't need to tell us that. You've given us all of the character world to let us know it's going to happen. Then it plays out. It's why people like us who watch the show a bit more analytically at times. we're not normal wrestling viewers in that way. But
no.
when you actually end up on Twitter interacting with what I'll call a normal human, where it's like, well, how can you tell? It's like, well, I just watched the show and the character interactions.
Yeah.
But of course, we take double notes and double takes at those interactions, so we remember them maybe a lot more. To us, this sort of thing feels blatant. But like, again, if you analyse any kind of media, this stuff is normal. Like, someone's tweet went viral today. They're just saying, no, like, the people who say that wrestling crowds are really difficult to please are talking bullshit. Because wrestling crowds are really easy to please. Just give them a basic ass storyline that has flow and continuity, and they'll be jumping off the seats and going, oh my god, it's amazing. Just that the bar has been so incredibly low that I'm applauding the presence of continuity. That's where the bar's at. So to see that, yeah, like AEW is doing basic storytelling right. That's all they're doing, and they're using that to then build upon stuff. But yeah, it's great to see. Anyway, that's what they're doing here. They are telling you that Punk is going to face Page. I won't be surprised if it's Double or Nothing, purely because of the timing, and because, again, everything's set up for Punk to be a little distracted for a bit whilst Page is finishing off his feud with Cole. It all adds up nicely. Like, they've told you everything you need to know already. That's why I like AEW. They don't treat you like an idiot who needs to be bashed over the head with a thing. Like Dax and Harwood. I've forgotten the other guy. What's the other guy's name? Dax and
Cash Wheeler.
That's it, Cash Wheeler. It's Dash Wilder and in WWE. It just does my head in.
So check this out, right? This annoys Floyd Johnson from All Things Elite, like, to no end. But like, I really can't help it. Like, ever since they were in NXT, I've always like, I know that Dawson and Dax are the same person. Yeah. I know that Wheeler and I know that Wheeler and Cash and Dash are the same person, right? Like, but like, I can remember, like, put the faces to the names, right? And then like a week later, I will mix up. I cannot mix. Like, so like, it has nothing to do with, because they don't look alike, right? They don't. It's just a thing where I just can't remember it past 1 week. It just always happens. So like, I just refer to them as bald and hair. That's how I do it. It pisses Floyd off, and I'm like, and he thinks I'm like trying to be funny, but like, honestly can't. And like, I don't know why it's like that with them, because like, the only other team that's like that with me is like the Usos, but like, the Usos at least like look very similar because they're brothers.
Yeah.
But like, for example, the Bear Country, like, I know which one is Bronson and which one is Boulder. I've seen them wrestle 3 times ever.
Yes, I can't.
It's just a mental thing. It's just a mental thing. I can't remember one of the best tag teams of this era. Like, I can't keep them. I can't tell them apart, like, with their names, with their faces for more than a week.
Yeah, I don't know why it is. Like, I feel like Scott Dawson / Dax Harwood, I remember a bit easier, but I still need to think. That's the annoying thing. They're so good, and I still need to think. And Cash and Dash doesn't help. I'm not going to lie there. So similar. It's like 80s. I mean, the whole point is like an 80s tag team kind of names and things. That's kind of like the whole point of it. But it makes it really difficult to remember who's the correct name. But yes, so Cash Wheeler at ringside for this as well. Kind of building up the potential slow face turn to do some work potentially with Bret Hart. And again, because we're in AEW, not WWE, they're not name dropping Bret Hart, or they're not wearing pink hearts on their thing. It's like, the biggest hint we got was pink background during their interview.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. That's exactly what I was mentioning. Well, they did do the pink lighting. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Like, and then last week they talked about when they got rid of Tully, they talked about like some allusion to the best there is or the best there was. Yeah. So yeah, they're doing this tease and they're dropping lines, definitely.
Which is because I put a tweet out after it happened because I wasn't covering the show. It's like, I still want to talk about this, but they with AEW, they've conditioned us for us to know as an audience, when we start teasing something, it's because something is going to happen. You can trust us. It's not a tease playing off the news of the day or anything. They don't do teasers like that. They're not Triple H in November, gotta set up 5 WrestleMania matches. They're not that. They are not that. They've conditioned us for it. And what they're doing here is exactly what they did with CM Punk, where they're dropping very blatant hints so you know who it is, but they're never outright saying, "Oh, CM Punk's going to be showing up on Rampage. You better tune in." But they're telling you it, but they're not saying those words, which gives enough doubt, and especially those who can't film language read at all. To them, it's like, "Oh my god, it's insane!" It's like they enjoy it even more. It's even better. But for us, we get to read the signs and like get excited for it.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I don't remember if this was on screen or if this was through Twitter, but like WWE in the last few weeks, as this Cody stuff been going on, has been dropping like has said stuff about smoke and mirrors. So like they've been doing it too. So like this is kind of like the new thing is like you have something in the bag, you want to tell or at least tease that it's happening because you already know you have it in the bag. Your fans kind of stoke up interest in it, and then like if you're not as deep into it as like nerds like me and you, then like it will be a big surprise, and it'll feel like when you were a kid when people like to lie and say that like they miss when Jericho would show up unannounced, when meanwhile you go and watch that clip, you see Jericho signs in the building when Jericho shows up for Y2J. So like it's always been around, but people like to pretend like it hasn't.
Well, there's so many discourses of this never happened before AEW, or this never happened in the past. I'm like, yes it did. Like I know, I can't remember. I think it was when I was doing the State of the WWE thing show. And like one of the topics brought up was looking at the demo numbers and things, and the thing of was like, oh, well, did this used to happen in the past? And I'm like, yes, WWE themselves would put out press releases in the 80s showing, look how great our demo is. Like this is not a new thing. Yep. This is like a thing that's always existed. I say always. I've gone back to the 80s. You know what I mean? Like in the wrestling world, nothing new.
Yeah. Like they even like I saw somebody on Twitter last week. During the passing of as the news came out about Scott Hall's passing, and they were talking about how like when people start talking about him, they're talking about how cool it was that he showed up on WCW television, and then moan the fact that like everything's spoiled or whatever else. And like I literally went to like spring of '96 and like typed in, and like the first thing is like in the Observer archive, and like the first thing in the headline is like Scott Hall is going to go to WCW. Like it was like a lead story from the early '96 for the Observer. So it's like, nah, bruh, you just had shitty internet connection like all of us 25 years ago. That's all it is.
Yes. Did I even have internet connection back then? I had a PC. I had the big bulky PC. I remember my dad bought it. It was like I only ever played like really basic games on it, but it's because my dad, they had the one work computer, and he was like, "Oh, I've got to save up for one of those to get his like personal home one." But this big bulky thing.
I have the funniest story. I was telling when we were doing the FOH draft, this angle draft for the Keeping It Strong style and One Nation Radio get together for, and we drink, and then we talk about like the terrible things that happened in pro wrestling that year. So a lot of it is WWE based, but like we got off on the dud last year, right? And also like IWGP belt being in the title lineage being scrapped and all that stuff. We killed it. But like I was telling Josh and Jeremy and Rich about like when I was a kid, when I used to go with my older cousin to the public library in my town, and like in the computer room there'd be this guy. And he used to tell us, because we were, I was wrestling nerd back then, but I had no idea what the Observer was. I had no idea about Insider or trade magazines or any of that for pro wrestling. And he would tell me all the stuff that would happen before it happened, and he would tell me, and my cousin, like that he was either, I can't remember, but it was like either he was a former wrestler or a current wrestler that's injured right now, or he was like writing stuff for Vince McMahon. And I used to be like, well, I mean, it lines up because he knows this stuff like 3 weeks before it ever happens. So yeah, maybe it is. And this is at the time where I'm recording Raw I'm watching Raw or Nitro on Mondays, and then like on the VCR in the other room I'm recording the other, and then like I am waking up before school early to watch the other show, and then like I'm taking that one tape to have one of my friends and loan it out to my friends at school for like the week so they can watch both too. Like that's the kind of wrestling fan I was like. I was an unofficial trader before I was like 10. So
amazing.
So I'm just like, this is so cool. There's some dude that knows all this stuff. Man, he was just a observer subscriber. Like, that's all it was. And like looking back in retrospect, like I was such a dummy, but I had no idea those things existed. So like yeah, like it's crazy how all this stuff is like, you know, like still comes in and is still useful and still resources or whatever else. But yeah, like I was just mystified at this dude like back then. Just like, how did he know this? I can't believe it.
The childish wonder, just being like, oh my god, do I know somebody who works at this company?
Yeah. It's like I knew the Easter Bunny or something. I mean, as well as like he has the inside scoop. Like this dude's some magical, like, you know, source of knowledge.
Amazing. Like I remember talking to my friends at school. Talking to people who weren't my friends but were wrestling fans. And because I talk about wrestling with my friends who kind of knew was wrestling, and like they kind of started to fall off it as we're getting older. And I remember there was one group of kids who I overheard them talking about wrestling, and they were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! That this is." I think it was WrestleMania 24 because they were talking about the Undertaker actually retained. I can't believe it. And I just remember just talking over some of the spots from that year's Running in the Bank match because that was the year that led me to finding wrestling headlines, because I was like, why is Jeff Hardy not on the show? What's going on? Me, as a like mid-teenage kid, just like, I don't know anything. So I just Googled it. Like, what's that? Just like Jeff Hardy not there, and wrestling headlines came up. Lords of Pain back then. It came as like the top search result, and it was like, oh, that's why he's not there. Okay, cool. But hearing people genuinely shocked that, and me, this is me realising that I actually had the ability to film read at quite a young age and follow storylines better than other people. When I say other people, I mean these particular people. where they were just they couldn't believe the Undertaker had retained the title. They couldn't believe Shelton Benjamin wasn't dead.
You're turning yourself heel on your own locals. You're like, yeah, I'm better than them, and they know it.
And they know it. They know it. One of them has gone on to have a very successful sports career, but still, on this very specific thing, it's fine. No, I won't give him a shout out because I'll call out who it is, just in case. You never know. Yeah, see, the listeners are all just a bunch of numbers to us. I don't know who they are.
Oh man,
we love you all in the same. Anyway, so before I run myself completely heel on everybody, I'll do a gradual turn. Let's not do it in one show. So, it's just that thing of there's that experience of people talking about wrestling but being genuinely shocked at stuff. And this was before I'd gone on to the WrestleMania website to find out the Jeff Hardy thing. Like, just that their pure reactions, and I was just like, but they told you on the show that he's going to retain because you knew he was going to. And they were in complete shock. And it was just cool to see people like that who could find enjoyment in that sort of level and not be like analysing or questioning things at any side. It's just like, I wish I could have that. I wish I wasn't trying to analyse everything. But there we go. There I am. Like, but like before I came live on here, I'm sorting out my lights because I thought, it's Dynamite. Let's try putting the purple light on, mixing it with the blue. That's what I'm doing before I call James. Before I accept the call. I'm playing about with lighting. So obviously, I nerd out when they're doing Bret Hart stuff and I notice they've changed the lighting to pink. And I'm like, that's the kind of shit. And to see that my Twitter feed was also going balmy over, it's like, yes, I've followed the right people. You are my crew. Yes. You will also nerd out over all this. Anyway, speaking about nerding out, the Jericho Appreciation Society. I'm so happy that this is good. It could so easily have been complete dog shit. Like, I was so worried before the promo last week, and then I was like, nah, he's done it again. I like it, another reinvention. Jericho ribbing on a photo of child John Silver, assumably taken at a WWE event of sorts, given that the whole background had to be photoshopped away. Because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. But it was just a giant John Cena posing in front of a Monday Night Raw logo. So it's everything gone. Garcia, and also that tells us that every single AEW wrestler is a former fan of something. Every one of them's got a photo with someone. Every one of them. It's great for these storylines. He's making it like guaranteed to have one. Garcia reminding us that they beat up pro wrestlers. No way one could hang with sports entertainer like him, and they're going to future endeavour them. It's like, oh yeah, just dropping all of the buzzwords. Matt and is it? So it's, I love the names. Is it Daddy Magic, Daddy Magic Matt, and Cool Hand Angelo something? It's like, it's so funny.
I'm still working on that. That might be the new tag team of names. I just forget. Like I had just got to the point to where I could remember Jeff and Matt. Same here. Like, yeah, and now they've changed names again. So like that'll be a work in progress because like, I was with you. I had concerns too until the promo last week, and I still have concerns. As the bell rings, but as far as like being able to cut promos, like make it make sense, like nah, they knocked that one out of the park.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Matt and Angelo bit for me, where they were checking behind the curtains, is like, oh, is Eddie Kingston there? Oh, he's not. What about we check for Santana and Ortiz? Oh, they're not behind this one, either. Like, you're just expecting Eddie Kingston to just be staring at them, dead eye.
Well, like they're going to continue doing that for like for like 1 or 2 more weeks, and then they're actually going to be back there, and they're going to get their ass whipped. This is awesome.
Rule of 3, that shit. Do it next week, and then the week after, they're just there. Or even better, the Angelo on the side, he does it and then just goes silent, and then Daddy Magic, he doesn't realise that the person is actually there, so he continues doing the bit and also has a silent reaction. It's like, oh yes, I can't wait for it. I will say, Daddy Magic Matt has the best facial expressions. They're so funny. It's just, he's absolute boy.
He's basically like Jack Black.
Yes. Oh, it's just everything. Such an over-the-top reaction. Oh, I love
like
it.
in the same way that like Otis is basically Chris Farley. Like, yeah, he's like Matt is definitely Jack.
Oh yeah,
Jack Black.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. I want him to stick around and be cocky like this before he gets his ass beat every single time. Like as soon as they arrived, they've been making me laugh. Like on BTE, it's so funny. Anyway, so after that, we went after that white hot match. This is where I'm realising that we had that incredible opener there. Then we have this match. Then after this match was this is match number 2. Match number 3 was Mox and Danielson. It's just like subsequently just incredible reaction after incredible reaction for every single person's music playing. It's like, oh my god, like these shows feel like an absolute joy to attend. Just there's constant pops. It's not just 1 or 2. Like throughout the show, so many. But we had such an incredible brawl. Sting, Darby Allin and the Hardys versus Private Party, the Butcher and the Blade. I've accidentally written down Butch, which I really didn't mean to do. I was reading in my notes now. Poor Pete Dunne. Oh no. It was that thing of Saturday morning I logged on to Twitter to check that Big E was okay, to find out that Pete Dunne certainly wasn't. I was like, oh no, Pete.
Did you hear about like the other news that came along with the Butch stuff from like the other day?
I don't think
about Petey Williams.
I don't know. No.
Okay, so Petey Williams has been backstage in WWE. Like he's producing matches, and like right now they're giving him a lot of praise for some of the matches he's put together. But backstage, the word is that Vince only wants him to be called not Petey anymore. He wants to either be called Pete or Peter. So he's been around longer than Pete Dunne has been on the main roster. So there's a great chance that Vince said one Peter rule or one Pete rule. So now I have to call a new name for you. And because there is Petey Williams backstage and we refuse to call him Pete or Petey anymore, we have to call him Pete or Peter. We're calling Pete Dunne Butch. There's a great chance that happens.
Given how stupid, I mean, this screams, and as an Englishman, this screams old American who doesn't know much about the outside world outside of America tries to come up with a name about an Englishman from Oliver Twist movies and all that older stuff. It's like, like he looks like a flipping chimney sweep, like like he's in Mary Poppins. It's like, like somebody immediately went, has Finn started binging Peaky Blinders? He just looked like, oh no. Like Pete Dunne is from Birmingham, where Peaky Blinders is set. So you can actually do stuff with that. Like, if you see the images of him, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate, like they would dress up in that style. Like anyway, the thing about that really makes me laugh. I know we're on a tangent, and we're about to talk about an amazing match, but
yeah, we'll get to it.
For me, the thing that sticks is the funniest about this is this whole trio, this whole gimmick, the whole kind of arc they're going for. It would be over. People would be absolutely loving it if they just didn't change his name to Butch. Like, even if they change it to Dunn, just get rid of the Peter. You single name him. That's still not calling him Butch. Which is still so much better. It's hilarious. The whole thing works. It's a great trio on paper. Like, personally, I'd looked at the roster, and sometimes I look at the roster and go, what pairings could be quite cool? And then I did put those three together in my head. It's like, that'd be a cool trio. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't call Pete Dunne Butch. That's what I didn't do. It's like, it's weird. The act works if you don't do that. The act works anyway. But if you get rid of that, you've put a hurdle there for no reason. It's just, why? I get that you have to own kind of the names and licenses. But I am saying this as an Englishman where I see that name and it just screams someone who doesn't know English, the UK really that well, aside from 1960s movies, tries to come up with a name. So it's like, cool, okay, I guess he's Butch, but it just makes the whole Adam Cole and John Silver interactions even funnier. It's just because the whole thing, we're going to turn you to a manager, we're going to name you Budge. It's like, oh my god, they were so close. It's incredible. Amazing stuff. Anyway, again, massive tangents and then jumping the gun with two people who are later in the show. So Sting, Darby and the Hardys versus Private Party, the Butcher and the Blade, with Andrade El Idolo and the Bunny. And is it Jose? Who's the...
Yes, Jose, the manager, I believe.
Jose, the manager. Jesus Christ, these are so much fun. I loved the one at Revolution. And for me, I'm not really even... I don't think I can weigh up which one I enjoyed more because I enjoyed them both equally. Yes, just the crowd still erupting for those Hardy Boys. Holy shit, that pop. It was so loud. Pace setter Darby Allin flying through the ropes before Sting. This is before the bell. Darby Allin set the pace and Sting's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to follow him. It just climbs up and dives. It's like, oh my god. Like 60, I think he turned 62 last month. Like, this is insane.
63 in the last couple weeks, yeah.
63. Like, he's 63 and he's doing that. Like, I hope I could do that. 63. Good God. Chaos all over ringside. Jeffrey, the Blade, Darby and Butcher quickly boarding into the stands to really get that sense of chaos. And I felt sorry for the people watching on TV because I was watching on Fight, given that I'm English. Yeah, I got the craziness that followed during the advertisement break. Like, folk had to watch Butcher swing Darby like a ragdoll before launching him down a flight of stairs. Darby Allin's only weakness, stairs. They found it.
Oh, we actually got that. We were fortunate to see that. I think they went to commercial break right after that.
Yeah, I was going to say, so immediately after that, they were frantically... Production did a really good job. It's where my nerdy brain kind of things like... They were trying to tell two stories separately. Like, you see it in films all the time where it's like the big final battle and they've established where both sets are, and then they'll be cutting between the two of them, and cutting between them makes both separate ones feel more frantic than they probably actually are. Like, if we just followed Matt Hardy brawling with Private Party up the ramp, and we just single shot Matt Hardy up the ramp, that's not that exciting. But if you have the Butcher beating up Jeff Hardy in merchandise, and he throws a punch, and then you cut to Matt Hardy throwing a punch on the ramp, and then you cut back to the Butcher, it's like, oh my god, there's so much happening. Like, they did a really, really good job at keeping that frantic pace and that chaos. As Darby lays dead on the floor for the whole advertisement break, because of course he did. But yeah, like, I felt sorry for the people who had to go to that break, because that was really well done. And only the people on Fight got that. It's like, oh, that's a shame. It's like, Yeah. But yeah, it was really, really fun. They are brawling all over the arena. So thumbs up to production for keeping up with it, and you could follow storyline, like flow-wise, what was happening, and that frantic pace was kept up through the ad breaks. Quite often it dies down, but not in this. Private Party with a 2-man side effect to Matt off the stage. Like, back from the ad break. All right, let's get to the big spots. Our 5 other brawlers going crazy at merchandise. Jeff climbing a huge ladder and dove off a window ridge from up high, crashing through 2 tables, taking out both the Butcher and the Blade. Good God. Back in the ring, Sting returning just in time to no-sell a chair shot, countering Gin and Juice into a Dragon Sleeper. I assume the spot was he counters into the Dragon Sleep. He counters into the Stinger Splash. The reason I put Dragon Sleeper is because I'm being kind to him. He did it on purpose. He obviously caught, and Stinger Splash turned into a Dragon Sleeper because now he's just laying on his back with the head cranked in. It's like, yeah, he fell on his arse. Well,
his knees just said no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like you keep diving off stuff.
I'm not finna bargain with you, bruh. Like, no, just no. Like, he tried to land, and like, nah, all that shit said no. He had to go down. He grabbed a hold, and then Matt had to because they were both going for like the combination Twist of Fate, Scorpion Death Drop, and Matt was able to slow down and gave Sting enough time to get back up. But like, if Sting had managed to held on for that, like, we're talking about like. I mean, it kind of killed my excitement because I was like, oh, Sting's knees are going to be a problem, or already are a problem. But outside of that, like, I had nothing but joy watch that match the entire time, except for that moment.
Yeah, Tony Giovanni, when Sting was diving off the top at the beginning of the match, just on commentary, just like, I told him, like, don't you be diving off stuff. Like, it's like, again, 63 doing those dives. It's no wonder he couldn't do this spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Sting was some high spot monkey, 30 years ago either.
Yeah, like, he's doing wilder stuff now than he did when he was Sting in the 80s.
Right.
Like, that's crazy. He's up to the ante since being with Darby Allin. Like, it's just coming out for these crazy brawl matches and diving all over the place. It's like, man, like, for 63, my God. It's so entertaining, though. These matches are so much fun to watch. Absolutely blast by. At Revolution, when I was, because I was doing Aftershock immediately after the show, and I was just being really honest on the review, just saying, I was gone. Like, after Punk MJF, until these guys picked me up, it was like a 1-hour period of Evolution where I was not paying attention. I was not invested in anything. Even Mox Danielson couldn't bring me back. But these guys did. Like, I really enjoyed these guys having their absolute chaos multi-man. And they did it again here. The crowd going crazy for it. Just round of applause. I love this stuff. And
yeah, by the way, like, we need to give a shout out to that crowd. Like, that crowd was awesome. All night long.
All night, yeah.
Except for, it got ice water thrown on it in the last 30 minutes of the show, but outside of that, like, it was awesome for about 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's because it came after last week as well, where that was white hot all the way through.
Yep.
Then you come to the next week and it's white hot for the whole first hour. You're like, oh my God, they're keeping it going. Like, you so rarely see that. You'll have a white
Texas
hot.
Loves some AEW.
Oh, which is great to see. It's great to see. Especially as they go across the different states, and we're slowly learning like which are the best states for AEW's kind of product. To see the answer is pretty much everywhere. It's because it's a consistently good product. Turns out you can sell that to a lot of markets. When the quality is high, the fans are gonna want to engage with it a lot more. Which tends to scarily. There's a reason we got
Connecticut and like Fort Myers in or the week before, like, those have only been the places that kind of stick out. I was like, oh, like, okay, they're not really as into it as most places. And like, we have some guesses why the Connecticut crowd wasn't too into it, but but the Southwest Florida thing was kind of weird. It really was. But whatever. Like, Texas, they when they go to San Antonio, they go to Houston, they go to Dallas, and they go to Austin. Like, they're always happy. They're always a great crowd.
Yeah. And after this, we got Tony Schiavone with FTR. FTR running on the Ass Boys as we edge closer to a babyface revival. They challenge the two Billy Boys to a match next week, and it gets announced. So, yeah, feel a feud to kind of twist them. But Where are we getting Bret Hart sooner rather than later to give like CM Punk a distraction, or is this going to be like another night of teasers? I don't really know, because they've done 2 weeks of teasing, and because it's Bret Hart possibly as a manager, I don't really feel like you need to CM Punk this and keep teasing, keep building, because he's not going to be that massive a role anyway. So it could be a surprise enough for him to turn up and just be a manager. He doesn't have to storm out like William Regal, just bitterly shouting at people, but still, in terms of establishing, maybe to be fair, you have them have this match and wrestle a bit more babyface-like, and then Bret Hart can come in a bit later and really cement it when they're ready. When MJF is like, okay, the Pinnacle, we are together, and they can just be like, actually, we're going to be following someone else. Out comes Bret Hart to shit all over MJF. I wouldn't mind that. Yes. Anyway, talk about stuff that I quite like. Mox and Danielson, good God, with William Regal, versus the Varsity Blondes with Julia Hart. This is where it really hit me. There's the sheer amount of energy on these episodes of Dynamite right now. It was when Mox was walking through the crowd, I was just like, good God, like this is a third match in a row where they've just been white hot for these guys coming out. And we're shown Julia Hart emotionally and literally looking down, sat on the steel steps, just not paying any attention. So continuing to sell that she's not quite right, and eventually he's going to join the House of Black and hasn't been forgotten about. They focused on it. I sure hope there was they've got a, now they've brought in Murphy, also Matthews. Now they've brought Matthews in, they can refocus on Julia Hart to get her there. Maybe, possibly. She's been doing this for quite a while now. It's like, it gets to a point, there's like, yeah, I get where just do it. Just do the thing. Just do the thing. Regal on commentary, once again a delightful treat, darling. Absolutely love him on commentary. He's great. And Julie Hart again on the steps, not paying attention, as Mox and Danielson systematically broke down her blonde friends. So good. A great spot, showing just the growing combination of violence from the two, whereas Danielson is stomping Pillman's head in as Mox is raining stiff elbows down on Garrison. It's like, oh, awesome. And then they both transition into a submission as Mox gets a buddy choke for the win. It's like, oh, it's so good. Just escalating that kind of unified violence in a way. And in the post-match promo, Mox praising the world of his lordship, William Regal. And this is where we got our new name, where he's talking about wearing Regal's Blackpool Badge of Honour with pride. As Danielson, they were forged in combat, the both of them. There's only one way to get that badge of honour from the Blackpool Combat Club, and that's the hard way. It's like, yes. I like the idea of, yes, Wheeler Yuta showed that he possibly could join the Regal boys. However, the best way to do that is to enter combat with them and gain respect by getting your ass beat, and getting your ass beat happily and smiling whilst you're bleeding on the top of your head. So, yeah. I love everything about this act.
Yes. They're basically like Ambrit, Imperium. They're basically this is a sacred sport that we love, and you gotta fight your ass off to get into here to earn our respect. And if you are, not treating the sport the way that we expect, we will be on your ass. It's awesome.
That's a great comparison.
It's very simple. It's very simple.
That's so
all we need now is for Bryan Danielson to whoop on a young boy and say, "Are you Tyler Bates? Are you Tyler Bates?" That's it.
What accent? What accent was that?
Well, that's my attempt to do a Gunter accent. But I just thought about it, it's got depressed, a Tyler Bate versus Danielson match. Oh my goodness, that is. Oh man, that is an incredible match. An incredible match.
There's there's so many of the kind of UK scene that just aren't being used, where you could see so many great matches outside of WWE. It's like Walter as well. It's no, it's a shame you kind of stuck in there when. Look at your ultimate opponent, Keith Lee, is just not there anymore. It's just the two big forces can't clash together. It's it sucks. that was so good when I saw it in I think the PWG. I think was the first time I saw that because it's my.
Yeah.
It's
they
like,
also had matches in Evolve too, right?
I think they must have done. Yeah, surely. Because I remember around that time, like 2018, when you get like some of the comments again, it's WWE and other has always been the thing, like pre-AEW, because 2018 AEW didn't exist, and the kind of arguments then were, oh, you can stick to your indie midget flipping stuff, whilst I watch proper wrestling, and I'm like, I'm watching Walter Keith Lee, like, what are you talking about? It's insane,
right?
Yeah, so good. I love them both. They're so good. Like, I refuse to call him Gunter. It's just that whole story. Like, no, I'm not going to applaud you for dropping half the Nazi name. Like, no.
Right.
No. You know you effed up there. Obviously not.
I try to go by whatever their last name or their current like gimmick name is. Like, so for example, like it pays me to do it, but like I call Piper Niven Viper, I call her Dewdrop now. I just do. Like, like I don't want to get like because obviously, like, regardless of however much they think it sucks, like these people do go out there and they try to put pride into it. So like,
oh yeah,
like for the effort they're putting into it, I can at least like give them respect of I'll like, obviously, in this situation, I understand where you're at. Like, I'm not naming after. I'm not doing the Gunther thing because it's supposed to be because it's named after Gunther Stark. I'm not doing it. I get you. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. But like, I just mentally, I've always tried to just go with whatever the new gimmick name is.
Oh yeah, it's just because it screams trying to give a name that sounds a bit more German, and I'm like, that's because he's not German. That's why he doesn't have a German name. Like,
right.
But to be fair, he got the name Walter over. Like, he got it over in America as well. Like, if he can get that over, I reckon Gunter's a much easier name to get over.
Yeah.
Especially if you pretend to be German. Like, it would be so much easier.
Yeah, it's just that thing where it's like, most wrestling names in a vacuum are kind of goofy or not actually names that really are not really names to stand out as, that's the name of a star, right? Like, there are very few very good pro wrestling names. But even with that, it's like you got to be really good or have the right time for something to pop off for you to make a name work. And like when you have some of these names that were like you look at it and it's like, okay, this just basically came out of a machine or whatever else, and it's kind of lame. Like, it's just you're just setting somebody back behind the 8 ball, and can they overcome it because this person is talented? Yeah, sure, but like the job shouldn't be tried to make things harder for the people you're trying to make money with, right? Like what is this? What are we doing?
Yeah, it's a weird. It's a weird thing where you're a fan of a thing and you try and put logic on it, but like you've already dove too far at that point. Like there's an issue with trying to bring what's called VAR in football in our country, the virtual assistant referee, where it's the computer that can look at the stuff and have a second look at it. Because sports like American football and rugby have done really well to incorporate technology into their rulings and officiating. Football is like there's old people of the old guys of the old guard in charge, and they can't get out of their own way, essentially. So tech is not being put into football, but so only just now kind of getting like computer stuff in there. That explanation was a bit of a tangent, but I've set something up. So one of the problems is the offside rule, where if you pass the ball and the person and want somebody,
I know what offsides is.
Oh yeah, I've explained for the people who have no idea. You pass.
Okay. Like, nah, bro, I watched the World Cup. Don't do this to me. Like, I'm not that uncultured.
don't Brit speak to me. I've got this. But so if somebody on your team is ahead of the last player on their team, then you're offside, or seconds to last, because you can have two people behind the ball. Does not have to be the goalkeeper. It's just two players. It just so happens the goalkeeper is always like behind everybody. However, with what they did with VAR, especially in the Premier League, they were zooming in and like checking the millimeter, because there were some people saying, well, if it's offside, it's offside. I'm like, but the whole point is you're trying to rule out somebody having an unfair advantage. If you're zooming in and giving an offside because their toenail is further forward than the other person's, what are we doing? As in, you've lost the bigger picture at this point. So if I'm watching WWE and I'm trying to criticise that thing that we're just talking, for me, it's almost like analysing toenails. Like, it's just that thing of you've lost the bigger picture. Like, why are we doing this? This is not... like, yes, we could try and make things make sense. So, oh yeah, we can try and get behind them for this reason. It's like, yeah, but you've lost the bigger picture there, because at the end of the day, it's a silly name, and you're going to struggle to believe a wrestler as a champion called Doudrop. Doesn't matter that she's doing a really good job of trying herself to put on a good show and whatever, try and get the character to mean certain things by little details that she's doing. It doesn't matter, because you're forgetting the bigger picture. like you're never going to believe a champion with that name. So it's different things like that. You kind of get lost in the details, especially people like us kind of analysing stuff and talking about every little thing. It's like, well, no, why are we doing these things? Like, we're forgetting the bigger point. It doesn't matter. What matters is the Blackpool, was it Combat Club? I forgot the name. Yeah, Blackpool Combat Club.
Yes, yes, Blackpool Combat Club, not the Blackpool Battle Club. The Blackpool Combat.
Yeah. Also, it's great to have to explain to my non-wrestling friends why Americans now know what Blackpool is. It's like, for all intents and purposes, you should have no idea what Blackpool is. Like, normally the rule is, if I know who the governor of Texas is, that means that the governor of Texas is a piece of shit. I should not know who, me, on the other side of the world, I should not know who that is. That's normally the rule. But on this occasion, I've heard of Florida because of Disneyland. Disneyland's fantastic. Blackpool, amazing wrestling. Go to Blackpool. Amazing. To be fair, WWE were there, amazing. Their NXT UK, those initial shows, they were in an amazing venue in Blackpool. So yeah, wrestling fans.
Yeah. The first one was the January one was Blackpool, and then like the summer one would be Cardiff.
Yeah, amazing venues. I'm really happy WWE did choose those venues as well, instead of your standard try and make the show look a similar, like they do with their TV over here. They actually blend it in.
What was it? When he used to do tournaments, it was in Royal Albert Hall. Those were cool looking shows. Really cool looking shows.
Great. A show that we can no longer talk about, given who actually made it to the final against Zach Gibson. It was a Voldemort person. So it's like, the UK scene killed itself. Like, they screwed themselves over. And I know loads of UK fans who have just not been able to get back into our local wrestling scene. Like it sucks, obviously, for the talent who did the talent that did nothing wrong and trying just to keep it afloat. But yeah, I know loads of people who were like huge fans and felt really let down and burnt, and it's like, well, why would I engage with that world when that was allowed to thrive? Anyway, I was about to say, I've brought the mood down. Unfortunately, the next segment is MJF. So it's like, actually, I brought us down to the perfectly correct level. It's like, MJF, you villain, you. MJF speaks, crowd boos. Fresh off the Wardlow beatdown, jubilant back with his diamond ring, ragging on CM Punk for cheating to win, assuring us one day he would embarrass the man. Great heel work. I love that. I love a heel who truly believes that he's been wronged in that way, and just seeing none of the irony and the hypocrisy. Great stuff. Wardlow, the main topic of the day. MJF's about to make his life a living hell. And this was something that I thought about. I was like, wait, is the Wardlow MJF contract thing just been dropped after what the Wardlow's promo was last week? No, that was all on purpose, because it was painting that picture of Wardlow thought he could just step away. If he doesn't act like that this week, then MJF's words this week don't hit as hard. I was like, oh yes, you knew you were going to do this promo, so you had Wardlow be as all forgetting about the contract as possible just to move on. No, because you could rip that rug from under him. Really good stuff. Wardlow thought he could just turn his back and ask out of his contract. He didn't sign a deal with some schmuck. He signed a deal with the devil, and his contracts are ironclad. Like, oh yes, I love this. Exactly what I wanted. Maxwell running all over Wardlow, calling him piggy, so that every single time he just addressed him, he was belittling him in every way, ripping him of every form of his identity, which is kind of his point here. Maxwell promising to essentially Mustafa Ali Wardlow. It's like, I will not release you from your contract. I will have you sit at home until people forget who you are. And refusing to even call him by his name in his promo as well, just part of that huge belittling. You are now no longer anything. He will break the man. And yeah, I love this. Such good character work.
I loved everything except for the pig part, because it kept distracting me.
Oh, okay.
When he kept making like pig and swine references, and I was just like, whatever. whatever. Like, but outside of that, it was incredible. Like the part where like the Texas crowd chants Jesus at him.
Oh yes, I forgot about this.
The Texas crowd chanted Jesus at a Jewish person.
Yes. Well, apparently there was a guy that's either dressed like Jesus or looks like Jesus that attends a lot of AEW shows. And he was in the crowd and they were chanting either for him or something. I can't remember. But yeah, that was.
It at best it was both.
Yeah.
But either way, it's like you're trying to get over on like whatever. I'm not gonna get into it. Like you understand why that is like goofy in itself. And then like his response is like,
it's so good.
His response was like, whoa, okay, like MJF is really good at knowing the line.
Yes.
From getting himself in trouble. He's really good. He knows about as well as like, well, comedians or good comedians anyway. Not the ones that are talking about cancel culture, like the ones that like still get bookings and stuff. But he's really good at that. He's really good at being as annoying as possible without like you saying he needs to be taken off of TV and sent to sensitivity training.
Yeah, like he knows where the line is, and I feel like when faced with a possible. Like he had no way to know, is this crowd suddenly being anti-Semitic to me? Like he had no reason, as far as unless he did hear something else beforehand because he's out in the ring, you can hear stuff. But as far as I know, he was no way to know, and the way he shut that down was so good, especially in terms of getting close enough to the line to get a reaction and to get them to stop, but knowing exactly how to not cross it. Oh, so good.
Right.
Such good
stuff.
Right,
and that is the thing when it comes to like these promos that are your own and your own words, and people that have, been in the indies and have had, smaller crowds with more intimate settings where you have, 1, 2, or 3 assholes try to, get themselves over. And and you have to deal with that. You have to shut that down and continue on with your point. So like that kind of stuff is something you don't necessarily get to learn in a promo class. Like I'm sure like it takes time because there's always going to be that stuff, and we've seen a lot of people that have came out of the WWE system and like have became very talented promos, but like being able to deal with that kind of stuff and being able to shut it down. And to be fair, like AEW crowds are way more respectful. Like they might try to get themselves over, but like second you tell them to shut the fuck up, like they'll quickly do so. Like just with Eddie Kingston in Fort Myers, like he's like, hey man, like I'm not doing the what thing with you with Steve Austin. I'm not doing it, and then they shut up because like what are you doing? Like he's trying to bare his soul about how what happened with the people that he met that told him that stuff about like how inspirational they were to him. It's like I'm trying to give you a piece of my soul here in this moving thing, and y'all are trying to do Steve Austin what chance? Like, God, I hate the what chance so much.
Oh, same
God, I miss Japanese crowds. Like, I miss that too. Like, none of that derisive crap. Like, whatever. I'm sorry, I'm old. I get it. I'm not with it. But like, I just miss like people coming there and wanting to be entertained and wanting to boo bad people and cheer heroes. Like, and then like cheering for who you want to root for without like it becoming, let's go Adam Page versus Adam Cole. Like I was there in that crowd, and I was just like after the first stands, I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, can the great wrestlers like have the great wrestling match without like, and you guys enjoy it as opposed to you trying to be goofy, please? Sorry, that's just me. That's just me.
Oh yeah, like I can't remember because of course I'd been woken up by the match previous. So I was paying attention at that point, but it's like, oh my god, it was. The first one made me laugh. I was like, oh yeah, they're both called Adam, but then it kept going, and they for the first like 5-10 minutes, it was like trying to think of new ones, and I was like, yeah, the first one was it got a laugh out of me. It's like, oh yeah, I get it now. Then it was
Let's go, Adam. Adam sucks. Oh, this is Adam.
I forgot about that.
God,
like,
what's wrong with y'all?
Obviously, me here, I could just start making notes on the match, so I could pay attention. But if they're live in the crowd, it's good to hear a live crowd. But it's like they won them over eventually. They stopped doing the. Sometimes those chants happen when the crowd gets tired, and they go a little bit silly. I was explaining to my friend that he wants to play. Like the date, my friends can do the Dungeons and Dragons because we don't do it all the time. We've managed to do like 2 over 6 months. Like we're not that crazy. Like we like it, we just can't do it because we're busy. But the only week that works with everyone else is not this Sunday after, which is WrestleMania week. And I'm like, okay, just to warn you, I will be on such little sleep. You're probably going to get silly, Matthew. Just to warn you. Like, I won't have that filter of, oh, that's a bit silly, I maybe won't say that. That filter's not there. So like, you see that with wrestling crowds. Like when they just get a bit tired and a bit out of it, they'll just go, yeah, it happens sometimes. Anyway, I'm realising we're getting on with this show. Got a few things to talk about still. So it's what happens when I don't have James on for too long. We just have so many tangents.
We catch up.
Yeah. Anyway, so Tony with the best friends. Trent talking about assholes trying to get themselves over. Trent open as hell in his words to Yuta. Like, Yuta, I never liked you. I never will. These guys brought you in and they trained you, and essentially hitting that story of, and you tried to leave, you're going to turn your back on them to maybe go with the Blackpool boys. Like, Wheeler to Trent, though, I loved Wheeler's retaliation. Like, pretty much just saying the same. It was like, yeah, the feeling's mutual. But if Trent can't understand the respect he has for Chuck and Cassidy, then Yuta's not the problem. Because they understand the respect he has. It's like, oh, yes, awesome. And I don't mind if that's just a great way just to get Trent to understand, which is fine. I don't need any more character beats. Or, because it's wrestling... that's not what happens that's what happens in actual friendships. This is wrestling. You're setting up a feud with every single little step you take.
Before the Jay White match with Trent, like right as he came back, they were teasing that Trent didn't like Yuta. Like they were doing Trent match after his return, and he was high fiving and fist bumping all the guys at the top of the cage, or all of best friends, including Stat, at the top of the ramp. And then, like, he had, like, snubbed Yuta, like, once or twice. So, like, this has been, this is, like, the escalation of it to where, like, oh, yeah, this is happening. We're getting Yuta versus Trent, and, like, I can't wait. I like both of them, so, in the ring. So, yeah. Like, I definitely like Trent's one of my favorite, like, guys that, like, you give him a couple wins. It's, like, the same class with Dax as well. Like, Dax and also Kazarian, like, you give them some wins or whatever else against small competition, then you put them in there with the stars, and they have very good matches with stars, and they lose, but whatever, the match is fun as hell when they're in there.
Oh, 100%. And to be fair, I probably put Jay Lethal in that category as well, of can have a strong match, you build him up a little bit, and then have him lose to a top star. He's like that kind of perfect level. And with Ring of Honor coming back in some fashion, Jay Lethal can maybe be more over there if he wants. Like, in that kind of Ring of Honor name that was there as, like, one of the guys. It's like, yeah, he can still be there. Anyway, but in AEW, Jay Lethal's there to get built up and then beaten by someone like Adam Cole. That's exactly what happened here. Cole versus Lethal coming to AEW. And another example of AEW talking about their entire past of these characters. Doesn't have to have happened in their promotion. Like, because they know the audience has seen it, be weird to not talk about it and pretend that it didn't happen. Because it did happen. Like, yeah, wrestling has a weird dissonance. You have to pretend things didn't happen. Sometimes in the same promotion. Like, what? No, it happened. If it's shit, it still happened. I watched it. Anyway.
Like, that WrestleMania 17 match between Undertaker and Triple H is never remembered. Like, they just completely pretend it never happened. And the only thing they've ever done is, like, the WrestleMania 27 and the WrestleMania 28 match. And then, like, the Saudi Arabia stuff with the Brothers of Darkness and DX. That's the only thing that's the only part of that robbery that they remember. Like, that never even happened. on maybe the greatest show in the company's history, it never happened.
Which is like, yeah, I watched it. I watched it though. It's treating your audience with respect. It's the best way to put it. And that's one of my things, like with what we talked about earlier with the whole AEW have conditioned us to know if they're teasing a thing, it's because it's going to happen. WWE have conditioned you. If we're teasing a thing, it's because we might think it's funny if we swerve you, because we go, ha, got you. Here's this other thing. It's like, well, then it would be really nice if they do either reveal Cody on Raw this week or at WrestleMania itself. Both seem relatively likely. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I assume I don't know. Anyway, tangent. So it was just that thing of, because they have told you that I read it as holding your audience with respect, but it's more WWE like to swerve their audience, but that doesn't. But they still tease as if they're doing the thing. So more often, like it happened like just in a normal rivalry where it was Carmelo and Zelina on this week's Raw, where they had them fight backstage, and then it was a swerve. We're actually still together. It was like, wait, it's not a swerve if you had an actual fight. Like that's not how it works.
And then and then also like apparently Carmella's like just whooping on Natty and Shayna by herself. Like 2-on-1, just beat him up on the outside. Like, okay, all right. I don't recall Carmella being a world beater like that, but if you say so, It's
like, you see that exact same action in AEW. It's like, oh, are they gonna prime that character to? They're telling you that this character has something special to be used up down the line. If they're beating up multiple people by themselves. Oh, that's interesting. Like, no, it's just a bit that doesn't even make sense in the first place because it's like Like you have again the dissonance with Monday Night Raw's main story, like the dissonance needed for. Well, of course, Seth Rollins is going to be on WrestleMania. The angle only works if you disconnect and pretend like he might not be on. Like he's doing amazing work, but the angle again, it's that dissonance. It doesn't make any sense because you have to pretend that you could ever believe that one of the biggest stars on the show won't be on WrestleMania, which is
On a wrestling show that has authority figures that put matches together, they would be literally committing job malpractice by not putting Seth Rollins in a match at WrestleMania. And what they do, they say, "You out of luck, big dog."
Yeah,
that's how the cars fail, bruh. I can't help you. It's like, nah, that you can't have it both ways. You just can't.
Yeah, and they're not building up Seth Rollins to have any angle with that authority either. Like this isn't a thing that's going. Again, I love the performance Seth Rollins is doing. I'm actually really enjoying him, but the angle makes no sense, and I don't care. I'm not invested. Yeah. I have to pretend to not know so many things for it to work, and it's all stuff you've told me in your world.
Can someone clip him saying it makes no sense and I don't care? That's fantastic. I need someone to clip that so I can use it for future memeage, like somewhere in chats and discussions. That's awesome.
I need to start a collection. Have a me folder and have a Rich folder for specific scenarios. Different things. I say since you and Latta have moved to like doing the video stuff on Twitch, I feel like Rich is developing a big folder of reactions of just.
Oh yeah. Rich is Rich is off the cuff and is so much better in that stuff than I am. Like it's just so much better.
And again, because when I had him on, we realised we've got the same lighting. I can say that the wants to do that to be like, I'm going to get all serious and turn off the other lights. Like that desire's there. It's like, let me just get real for a second.
or when he zooms in. Oh, yes. To know how like frustrated or serious he is. Oh, he kills me every time.
I just accidentally become a Rich Latta roast, but I'm here for it.
I thought we were putting him over because this is fantastic branding.
Oh, this is actual seamless product integration. This is how you do it. It's like yeah. One Nation Radio over on Twitch, and I'm doing it not as subtle because we need to get back to the show. So anyway, Adam Cole versus Jay Lethal. Plenty of history. The match itself, I felt like it was perfectly fine, but it's in the middle of the show. This is, for me, the exact kind of match for the exact kind of point of the show. This was perfectly fine here. You've had so many white-hot matches. I was ready for a match like this, if that makes any sense. I don't like every match to be an absolute banger because I get tired. A match like this, which is solid, doesn't need to be a banger if it's on TV. It can just be solid and it's fine. And for me, that's what it was. And it built to a hot ending as well. Like
I thought that this match was damn good. I thought this match was a blast. Like I thought this was built up for the amount of time they went, for what they want to do with Adam Cole, for what Lethal's role is in the company. I thought this is about as good a match as you can ask for them to do, given the TV settings. I thought this match was basically the perfect match for what they wanted them to do.
And that hot ending as well with Lethal catching Cole with a cutter, But vintage Cole with a perfectly timed super kick to the... I got the WWE jabbing. With a perfectly timed super kick to the hand-springing bastard. The two showing they know each other so well. Day jucking. Jay ducking a post-Panama Sunrise running knee of Boom, only for the Fish O'Reilly ref distraction to allow Cole to counter a second handspring cutter attempt with a low blow. The Boom finally hit for the win. And yeah, I really like that ending sequence. It's because of the way that it built, where you saw that immediate attempt blocked one way, and then Red Dragon getting up, and that just allows for him to counter again. It's like, oh, yes, yeah. Good teamwork. Good on you, lads. Good on you, Fish and O'Reilly. And after the match, Cole promised to take Page's AEW Championship, calling him out for not having the guts to face them 3-on-1. And damn it, Adam, you know the rules of the wrestling world. You say their name and they will come out. So out comes Hangman, bringing the fight to the trio, but the numbers quickly get the better of him. His new jungle friends making the save, but this was a very visual representation of Page's pride costing him the title as Adam Cole is holding it on the ramp. And I'm just like, they're not saying it, but I don't know how much more visually blatant they can do it to say his pride cost him the title. Look at Adam Cole holding the title that he stole on the ramp. It's like, he's not literally become the champion, but it's just like in terms of the visual storytelling and like film language, I don't know how more blatant they could have been. Like, it's just so in your face and telling you it, but also not verbally just saying these words, because it would have been so much easier just to have Adam Cole and say, like, your pride will be your downfall type of thing, coming out to a fight like this, you idiot. But no, they did it in action, and that speaks volumes compared to just generic script number 5,000.
Yeah, I thought this was very well done, and that line just harkens me back to like Undisputed, where they would say this kind of stuff to like baby faces at the time, like Velveteen Dream or Johnny Gargano or whoever else, and it was always fun. Or Ricochet, it was always fun. It was like, you're a coward because you won't come face us 3 or 4 on one. It was always just the best. Like they were just such, and they were saying so deadpan, especially Cole. He would say with anger, like you are a coward because you. I missed it. I missed that Undisputed type of stuff. I did.
Anyway, after that, we got a promo for Dustin Rhodes versus Lance Archer in Dustin's hometown in Rampage. So, that should be fun. Right, now comes the segment which hasn't been universally praised. Tony Giovanni interviewing Sami Guevara and Tay Conti. Sami has lost his TNT title, but he still has the wrestling ring to showcase how great he is. I generally enjoyed this bit. This bit was a strong babyface promo. Like, his crazy style, like people telling him his career will be shortened by it, but the price is worth it. He'll totally pay that price. But right now, he and Tay Conti, they want payback. As you know what? They got the babyface stuff over, and then they cut to the point. They did that really quickly and perfectly fine for me. It's like, yeah, it's perfectly fine. Tay promising to beat up Van Zandt, but she's not here tonight. No fear, Dan Lambert's here. What a perfectly fine replacement. Out with Men of the Year in her stead. I love that Dan Lambert has one of the TNT championships. I will just say, the fact that there's 2 of them and then Dan Lambert comes out celebrating like he's champion, that is great. I love that. All Dan Lambert, 3 of them, all confident with winning one over their foes. But then Sami goes for the final win. Lambert kissing the TNT championship to taunt them. But Guevara's like, I mean, if you knew what me and Tay had done with that belt, you wouldn't be kissing it. It was like, one of my favourite reactions to this on Twitter was someone who seemingly might be against sex education. It was just openly just saying, my child was watching this and he asked what that meant and I had to explain it to him like he'd been traumatised by the experience. And I was just like, dude, he said like his 11, 12-year-old son was asking what it meant. And I was like, 11 or 12? They start, when they start, what? Is it 7th grade, is it in America, to start teaching sex ed? Like,
I was in 5th grade when so I was like 10 or 11 when I had sex ed. So like, I don't know, obviously different states, this country is, states' rights, whatever. Yeah. But but yeah, like whatever. Like if you felt that it was some big deal that you had to explain it, then turn the show off and then watch it a different time. Lesson learned. Move on.
That's my favourite thing to the concerned parents complaining to a show that airs well, actually no, that's a UK thing. I keep forgetting that America doesn't have the cut-off point. The watershed, that's what it's called, sorry. Like in this country, it's a known thing that after 9 p.m, that's when the watershed's over at that point and the rains are off. So, yeah, if you don't want your kid to hear swear words, you don't want your kid to accidentally see a boobie, don't let them watch TV after 9. Like, that's when the dramas come on. Like, it's like, yeah, if you don't watch your kid getting traumatized by The Wire, don't let them watch TV after 9 p.m. Like, it's understandable. You wouldn't want your 6-7-year-old watching that, which is why we established the watershed in our country. It's a nice understanding thing. But yeah, I forget that in America, like on our panel shows, like our comedy things where it's like they'll play a parlor game and they'll be having fun for like 30 minutes. Like they'll openly swear, and my brother's wife on mute was like, "Wait, they just say the F word like on live TV?" Like, yeah, it's not a big a deal. It's how people normally talk and make jokes. So why would we not do it on TV? It's like forgetting what American TV's like. It's like, oh my god, he said the F word, and I'm like, well, yeah. That's because I would say that when I told the joke in real life. Why would I censor myself and that? I praise AEW for at least letting wrestlers say shit again. Like it's like, oh. It makes them feel so much more like real people. Like when you watch WWE and you hear the promo is going a certain way, they're trying to be harsh, but then they have to PG-ify it, and it loses all sense of realism. It just falls flat on its face. It's just like, if they could just break the line, because bitch has become a meme now. Like, I remember when The Rock was allowed to say bitch in 2011 when he returned, and it was a huge deal. And it was like, oh my god, they're letting it, like, no one else was allowed to say bitch. It was just him. Everyone else was still fully PG. And he was allowed to say bitch, like a huge deal. But now it's a meme, because it's the only word they can say. So,
well, didn't Rollins get away with saying bullshit the other night?
Oh yeah, they did the tactic which, like, they did it with CM Punk in when he's feuding with The Rock. I can't. Whatever year that was.
That would be 2000. That was 2012 and 13.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they had him swear there, but they obviously greenlit it ahead of time, got the timing down perfectly, so it got bleeped out. It was the same thing here, where Rollins was like swear thing, like, but the two best ones. I think Bobby Lashley did one during the lockdown era, and they didn't bleep it. But it's kind of like, well, was there logic? Who's watching in the lockdown era? We can do what we want. Or the other one is obviously Brock Lesnar to Heath Slater. I don't give a shit about your kids. The best one. It's so good. They just, where no one else can swear, and he just comes in and says it. It's like, it was so good. And to say how over Heath Slater was at that point, for him to come in and just immediately the most over thing in wrestling. It's so good. Anyway, we've accidentally done what are the top 10 moments where wrestlers said shit. It's like that's even though AEW AEW have let the reins off, but still nothing has come close to that Lesnar line. It's so good. So deadpan. It's like, I honestly believe you don't give a shit about his kids. Well done, Buck. Anyway, so for me, this promo, I thought, because again, I'm watching it as just characters on TV. Like, when I make a character in a video game or when I watch a film, I'm not trying to immerse myself in it at all. Like, I am watching characters who aren't me do things, which is fine. For me, these characters were the exact same characters I've already seen week to week, and I was fine with it. It's like, yeah, I totally believe Sami Guevara would make that kind of joke. But then I go online and people are like, oh god, they're the new Brandy and Cody. It's like, are they? or because the only line I can see with that is because they've literally just been placed in Brandy's feud.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, people just, like, a lot of the people that are negative on it, I think, are people that just, like, they didn't want to see Cody and Brandy versus Paige Van Zandt in either her husband/fiance or Scorpio Sky or Ethan Page. They didn't want that anyway. So now that it's being ported over to Sami and Tay, like, they just don't want it, or Ty, they just don't want it. And then, like, for some people, there are people that are upset with like them on Twitter having so much PDA, doing so much, tweeting so much about how much they enjoy each other, and then there's also some people that are like, we saw you propose to this one woman like last year or 2 years ago, and like, what happened, bro? Like this ended, and all of a sudden now it's just like, so there was some, and like a lot of people like are really big on like infidelity or whatever else when it comes to, even though they're not even married, but you get my point. Like, so like a lot of people like don't like Sami for that reason. So like me personally, it ain't my life. I don't know him. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Like my name's Paul, and that shit's between y'all. But like as far as the promo and the angle they're setting up, I don't necessarily want to see it. Like, I'd rather see Sami do something else. I'd rather see Ty face Serena Deeb. But they're going to do this big. They're trying to do this, this sports entertainment, or not sports entertainment, whatever.
Getting ahead of yourself.
They're trying to do this, like, so they're trying to do the celebrity thing, and like, like, to be fair, most of the celebrity things they've done in AEW have been pretty good. Like a lot of the ones that WWE has done of recent memory have been pretty good. Like that Bad Bunny thing, I had fun with whenever Bad Bunny shows up, right? Like Pat McAfee, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with his matches with Adam Cole, but they were successes, right? Like Ronda Rousey was a smashing success at the start. So yeah, like Shaq, smashing success. Yeah. So yeah, I just have concerns that like it may turn off the crowd, and like my main thing is like it doesn't bother me, but like I know that I feel that the crowd's going to turn on it at some point, and I don't want to watch babyface get rejected. Like I hate watching that stuff.
Yeah, like somebody proposed for me a really good long-term idea, like not now, but the idea of that Sami then does ease up his style, because the entire point of this was he's partly doing it for the audience, was part of what he was saying here, but if he transitions to wrestling for his family, for Tay, instead of the people, it's like you can slowly transition there. You can make these a heel couple, but this is like, for me, this was totally fine babyface promo. Like I was fine with
especially
it,
at the start.
Yeah, I didn't see anything here to really go against them. If in this pro,
I think it's mostly a Twitter thing for now.
Yeah, that's the thing I tried to remember in the bubble, especially as in right now, I'm not on Twitter as often as I would do. Yeah, I live in Europe. There's something bigger happening. Like, I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be. Like, wrestling isn't as important to me right now. Like, there's a reason I'm dropping off from doing interviews as often as possible. Like, there's shit going on.
It's so funny over here how people are complaining about high gas prices are, and it's like, what do you think Russia has a lot of? And what do you think they're going through right now? Yeah, like you should have expected this the second you heard about this happening.
Like, I look at that and I'm like, America, count yourself lucky. You've done a really good job at working off your own oil. Like, it could be so much worse. Like, see, these gas prices are nothing what it could be. Like, the UK as well, we've really limited the amount of oil we get from Russia. So, us in America, we weren't, yes, the gas prices have gone up. We're not really hit by them. Like, we're tickled. That's what it is. It's just a little tickle. Like, it's not what it could have been. It's not. Anyway, massive tangent for me to suddenly talk about Germany and their pipeline down to cancel. Just like, yeah. It was like, I'm not going to tell the audience about Germany's cancelled pipeline deal with Russia. It's like, no, that's a tangent and a half. Anyway, yeah, I thought Guevara and Conte's promo was fine. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. Maybe that's just because I'm not on Twitter enough to understand why an attractive couple would be annoying, past the fact that they're an attractive couple and therefore automatically heels.
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, historically that gets heat, so like I think people feel like it's just a matter of time before it does. Like, you look at Becky, you look at what happened with Becky and Seth, how that cooled Becky down so much. You look at like Hunter and Stephanie and how like they've always been for 20 something years has been so annoying by the Eskimo kisses and all that kind of stuff.
Miz and Maurice
like
as well,
it's just an easy Miz Marisa. It's just easy, the live sex show between Lita and Edge. Like, it's just easy heat, right? So like I think people are just like, people tend to be into the PDA stuff when it's like a romance being built where, you know, like Otis and Mandy, that sort of stuff, where it's like, okay, like it's a will they won't they type of thing. But once you get to they're a couple, it's like, all right, take it off screen. You don't want to see it. Like,
yeah.
And for me, it's kind of like I notice that that's like just a, you know, it's inconsistency, but it's like at the same time, it's like I don't want to see these crowds like turn on Sami. I don't want to see these crowds turn on Tay. So it's like, whatever y'all need to do this thing you want to do it, and then move on from it quickly, please. Like, because I don't want to watch another Cody situation, and then have to hear people talk about how he's just, you know, how he's a genius that is a heel but it's a babyface. Like, bro, I watched that. I stopped watching that on the, like I moved to this because I didn't want to watch that on the other you know, major company that does that. I don't want to watch it. So yeah, please quickly transition before it happens.
Yes. And the other one that came to my mind was Lashley and Lana, and I was like, actually, no, there was a reason in my the draft has started, but J. Cole's not bloody responding to his DMs. so the Laws of Pain draft, shout out to Type, it's meant to be underway, but we're waiting on someone who doesn't check Twitter, like somebody who's been his internet friend for a while. It goes on long periods just not checking social media. So we're stalled.
He's winning.
But there's a reason, because I brought up Lana and Lashley. I was like, actually, no. They knew what they were doing with that. So I purposefully booked Sable joining up with Ahmed Johnson to face Mark Miro in my draft feud. That was the draft feud that I drafted, and I was really happy I got it. I was like, how was I able to get Pamela Anderson, Sable, Ahmed Johnson and Mark Miro to actually run this angle? And purposely right inside it, it's like, no, WWE, you knew what they were doing. You're playing off that race stuff on purpose. No, you knew what you were doing. So I'm going to book it. I booked this storyline pretty much just hearkening onto that and doing it on purpose because you knew exactly what you were doing. Anyway, that was a tangent. It was also a way to plug the draft that's happening. So yeah, whenever it gets underway.
I forgot how many picks it was, and I'm in it this year along with Rich, and I think Jeremy's in it too. But like, what month do you think it'll be finished?
Oh God, normally it goes through all of spring, minimum. Yeah. I mean, we started. To be fair, that's like 2 months normally, but we started earlier, and then he's added a 14th person's been added on, like yesterday. So it's 14 people over like 30 stuff, and you get stuff like this where somebody just doesn't check their social media and it just stalls for like 2 or 3 days, where you're just waiting for them, and that clock's ticking because we have a timer. Whereas like, if you don't respond within a certain time, you get a random person given to you. And then if you don't respond multiple times, then you're just not going to be in it anymore. And last year we had a person, we had to go through that 3 times, and eventually Type was just like, nah. It's just.
Oh man.
So yeah,
fingers crossed. Hopefully it doesn't happen this time.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully this is it. Anyway, it's a long draft, and I was like, I've got like a few first choices. It's not bloody Triple H type. I'm not drafting Triple H first. on the guesses.
Can you imagine the draft? For those that don't know, the draft pool, to my knowledge, is like anybody in history. Like, can you imagine Triple H winning the top 14? Can you imagine?
Yeah, he's not
in the history of pro wrestling.
Like, I don't even know if he is. If it's pure American, but if it's purely American mainstream TV as well. If you also exclude all of the territory days, like, is he possibly then? If you make it really niche like that, I guess.
So basically, you make if you make it from like 96 to now, yeah, I think he probably will have to make it then, but still, like,
yeah, still, he's not there.
Like, yeah, you're not exactly in love with that pick if you get him.
I've got my first 4 picks, and it'd be amazing if I could get all of them. But I know what this draft is like, and you watch. Like, I was certain I could run Sabu versus what's his name, Bruiser Brody. I was certain I could run it, and then Sam bloody drafts Bruiser Brody. It was like, good God's sake, Sam, ruined everything. Then I think I told him my plan, and I just let him draft Sabu. So just take him.
I'm still tripping over last year when, like, I think it was every wrestler from from like 1980 to 2000, right? Was last year's draft. Yeah, and then like I'm seeing like Liger and Kobashi and Masawa going in like the 70s and 80s and 90s. I'm like, wait, what? Like, does Japan just not count? This is it's like all those Budokan Hall shows. Never mind those. Okay, fine, whatever.
Oh,
They only fit 16,000 people. Whatever.
That's what helped me, because I was able to book Antonio Inoki versus Roddy Piper in the main event. And,
oh my god!
Oh yeah, and it was but it was the link was boxing, so I was able to get Muhammad Ali as a special guest referee.
Okay.
So suddenly that's WrestleMania, then linked for Inoki versus Ali. It's like, I've got my link.
Right.
There you go. Amazing match. Roddy Piper can just run all over him, and he got the Ali link. Awesome. But then I was also able to have Anita versus Hayabusa in the opening match. I was like,
wow.
I'm getting all these pairings because it's very weighted to America.
Yep.
I feel like this is a conversation for after the review.
Yes, it is.
Tangent.
Sorry. Let's get back to the lecture at hand. My bad. We do this all the time.
Swerve promo on Ricky Starks ahead of Rampage. Ricky's hometown. Ricky's show, but it's Swerve's house now. It's like, yes. I feel like he's going to skyrocket up, Swerve. It's just, he's got everything kind of there, and then using Rampage to really show that. To be fair, he and Ricky Starks, like, he's finally at a point, Ricky, I'm assuming relatively over his injury, where he's able to just be featured a lot more now, and Rampage is very quickly becoming like a Ricky Starks kind of show, and he's seeing Keith Lee featured there a lot more, he's seeing Swerve featured. It's like, it's now becoming a very exciting show to get ready for. It's easily, for me, it's my favourite show of the week, just because it's an hour, it absolutely flies by, it's the easiest show to watch, a wrestling show to watch of the week. I really, really enjoy it. It's like a lovely piecemeal, and it's gone before I get tired, which is lovely.
It's the old NXT before they went to the USA Network,
with featuring more ready for TV talent. This is nice. What was?
I can't believe that's what they've done. I'm sorry, we're not going to the tangent. I just want to say, I can't believe that's what they've done to my baby like this. Let's just move on.
Yes. Leyla Hirsch versus Red Velvet. Nice seeing the women having an arc playing out over a long period of time, and these matches, every single time they have these matches, they are moving it forward every time. That is good to see. But other than that, I feel like I'm entire criticism for this, unfortunately. After a white-hot main event cage match, we're right back into one pre-main event match, and you can tell it feels a bit like this is the rest before we get into the main event action. Which, that sucks. That really does suck, especially after coming off such a high. I'm like, it's not even feature either Thunder Rosa hyping a celebration or a Thunder Rosa celebration. Like, we kind of got that, but not really. It's like, oh, that's a shame. It's like somebody did a meme on Twitter of the Thunder Rosa celebration I wanted, and it's Eddie Guerrero's celebration after becoming champion. And compared to the one we got, where she's beaten down by Nyla Rose, it's like, oh, like no shade to Nyla Rose, she's awesome. But was Rich on stage with Nyla Rose before Revolution? I thought he put something out with his documentary. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah. Tangent. I realised I suddenly get stuck trying to remember a video Rich put out. But yeah, so it's just like, yeah, no shade to Nyla, but the angles, it's like, oh, here's your first challenger type of thing. It's like, that would have been fine to wait a week, have her celebrate first, then do it. I'm not in any rush. It's fine. So, it's a bit flat. Anyway, the end of Hirsch and Red Velvet was the story repeat itself again, but again with another twist. Hirsch going for the turnbuckle attack. Last week, Chris Statlander stopped her, but this week there was no help for Velvet. Statlander does not like Red Velvet. Just let her get beaten up. That's fine.
Well, no. The rule or the stipulation was that she was barred from ringside during the match, so she couldn't come down until after the match was won.
Oh, okay. Layla going ringside and very blatantly going for a turnbuckle, only for it all to be a ruse as she whips out a second one to clobber the lass. 1, 2, 3. Human Chris making the post-match beatdown save as we continue to develop this storyline and get to the match between Hirsch and Statlander. I was like, yeah, honestly, none of these beats, there's nothing wrong with any of them, and they're doing a decent job of building to Hirsch versus Statlander. I do want to see that match. It's just that where this was in the show and the way it was the way it played out, rather than, like, the beats are fine, but the way it played out was, this is like a rest period. It's like,
Yeah.
that's a shame.
Yeah. Like, I like Layla and I like Red. I think that the thing is that they're both people that need to be in there with the stars to have their match be over. But when you put them together, the crowd doesn't, the crowd likes them, but they don't see them as like people we need to really cheer for at this point. Because really, the only thing they can do at this point from a personality perspective at this point, or from what they've seen in AEW, is that like they can get themselves over. They have a really good match. They just haven't had a really good match together on TV yet, and like they had an okay match, and that was the end of it. Yeah, like I think the Statlander and Layla thing will have a much better reaction, because they built toward it, and Stat's a bigger star than either one of them.
100%, 100%. Yeah, the actual match itself is going to be fine as long as they don't feature it in this slot. As in, actually,
agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
For me, that's the killer. They've done it before where they've built up to a match and then the blow off has just happened in this spot, which is the almost women's match before the main event rest period. It's like, no, like if you're going to build up to it, actually have it play out. Like, so I've sometimes been critical of them moving it to Rampage, but if it's the main event or the opener, then that's fine. It's absolutely fine for it being in one of those positions. It's just like, this is not it, this one here. Speaking of great women's things being built to, Jade Cargill preparing a celebration fit for a queen. So, yes, I feel obviously we're going to get some form of attack and establish somebody. Is this Athena's debut? Or is this someone we know is going to run out? Possibly Ruby Soho to go for Cargill. She's not seen her in a while. And there's lots of possibilities, and all of them good. Especially as Cargill, that those defences continue to rack up, and she's like 30-0. Just keep that going. Actually, no, she had her 30th match. Or she's
going for 30. Yeah, she had her 30th, and that's why she's celebrating.
Oh, okay, of course, I'm an idiot. Yes, yes. Me remembering half of the context. Anyway, as we talked about after this, Tony brought out Thunder Rosa onto the stage, and the only positive I can say is, hey, it's better than doing the exact same angle in a backstage interview. Like, you did it on the stage. So it's technically better than that. But it's not a high bar. I'm not massively excited for it. But then we get the main event. But before the main event, I've started trying to note down the upcoming matches on the shows, like as Excalibur is saying them. I can't do it. I just get... I just have to pause it, like, hold on. Who was facing Red Dragon? Because I have no idea. I have to go back and face it. But, I mean, I remember because I went back and actually got it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm like, yeah, they do have a match, and I totally forgot. But it's like a team they're going to beat easily.
Yeah, he just blasts through them. I've got no chance of actually getting it. So anyway, Lance Archer versus Dustin Rhodes, Preston Vance and Alan Angels versus Red Dragon, Nyla Rose in action, which then I can't remember if they said they're doing the Thunder Rose thing, but I don't think so. Actually, no. Hook certificate from QT Marshall, and Starks versus Swerve. I assume that's the main event. You could do Homeboy Dustin Rose, but I feel like Starks versus Swerve has got more to it for me to be the main event.
Yeah.
You get the Dustin opening the show pop because it's his hometown. That can work.
Yep.
Right. And the main event, Jericho Appreciation Society's in-ring debut versus Dark Order Silver and Reynolds. The sports entertainers showing a couple of dirty wrestlers how it's done. Conning the ref, distraction beatdowns, Jericho incorporating a slower hit a move and pose style of wrestling. Like, I was watching it and I was just like, oh no, am I getting evil Bullet Club vibes? Just from everything they're doing. But then Jericho stuck with his style. He actually adapted his style in this match, especially what we've seen recently, where his matches with like Eddie Kingston, just that amped up style. Like, here felt very do a move, pose, look how good I am. And Garcia doing it as well. I was like, oh yes. Like, Garcia, for me, that's my, if I'm doing any critique of this thing, I'd love for Garcia to pose more after hitting a move. Did I really do that showman style? Like, because it's like, he's such a good wrestler. Like, he'll do an awesome suplex and then switch over and be like in an awesome submission within like a second. It's like, oh, this is amazing. But it's not sports entertainer. Like, I love this, but I would also love for you to just grin and smile and flex your muscles after doing it. It's just like that's the shit I want to see in this gimmick. Like, yes, I love the amazing smoothness he has, but rob that of me. Don't let me have it. Do your poses. That's what I want. But the opposite of that, Silver, the amazing Firecracker hot tag. Like, he's so good with these. Taking out everyone before cross-bodying onto Jericho. Like, probably the best one was Hager at the end, where he goes to hit Ivana, and it looks like Hager's going to catch him into a powerbomb, but no, that was just set up for later. He actually does nail Ivana. The crowd popping huge for that. Obviously, Jericho then nails the ladder with the code breaker to swing it back into the rhythm of the match. But the fire is always appreciated. Like, it was really, really strong stuff. The crowd white hot for Silver and Reynolds' near full combination. Garcia in the end distracting referee Aubrey for Jericho to swing the bat and into that awesome modified sharpshooter for a Danny Garcia main event win. For me, that's the important thing. Jericho's headline, he's the headline focus of the group, but this is Danny Garcia's vehicle, and we all know it.
Yep.
This is great, and this is a sign that they are. For me, this is AEW telling you you can trust something without just flat out telling it you. And for me, this was AEW telling me, you can trust us that this will be a vehicle to push Danny Garcia. It's like, yes, thank you. Good stuff. Really strong main event.
Yeah. It was a good match, but it might have been the fourth best match on the show. It probably was the fourth best match on the show. So it just goes to show you like how like loaded that first 80 minutes of the show was, or 90 minutes of the show was. It's just like, wow. Yeah. Actually, if I review it, that would come to the end of the show. Like, if I'm reviewing the show as a whole, it's probably is that. Like, those first 3-4 segments are like, holy crap. It's like a banger after banger after banger. Like, and the crowd popping huge for every single segment of those first like 80 minutes, which is insane. And then he can spot the quality drop off. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, the thing for me was when they put Punk in Dax. When they put him on first, I was like, okay, this is the swing match because of how this show is going to go. Because like CM Punk does not like to be chopped. So I was like, Dax, he don't miss in singles matches, but like, he has to get chops off to try to get over the physicality of his matches because he's a 80s ass wrestler. So so I was wondering how that was going to go, and then like Punk sat there and took them chops, and I was like, and then it went off without a hitch, like and then they did a lot of the Bret Hart stuff and countering it out, and I really enjoyed that match. And then after that, you look at it up and you're like, oh yeah, this is a Quattro's tornado tag. Like there's no reason why that would be good. And then like it went as good as you could ask it to be. You had that awesome lethal in Cole match. You're just like, yo, this is gonna be a really, because they weren't gonna have a bad match. You're like, yo, this set up to be a really hot show. And then like as a crowd, you hear that crowd and you see how it goes how it continues. You're like, yo, this is the makings of being one of the best Dynamites in that first 90 minutes. And then like that last 30 got you, but it was still in my opinion a very, very damn good show. Yeah, like all the parts considered.
And that brings us to the end of the AEW Dynamite review. Before we sign off, James, you want to run through all of your shit?
Yeah, you can follow my podcast to do with my friend Rachel we talked about earlier at 1H Radio on Twitter. We cover basically weekly big things in wrestling, from AEW to Stardom to WWE, New Japan, whatever comes up, whatever big show from that particular week, we try to cover it, and we'll talk about it, and whatever news comes up for that week and interesting things that come up. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to do it because the only time I ever read anything for wrestling, I mentioned it on the show that particular week that I was going to do it, and then it forced me to actually do it. So I'm going to do it here. I'm going to write a preview column for Stardom's World Climax pay-per-views this weekend. It's basically a 2-day event at Sumo Hall. It is a 2-day event. They have 17 matches, like 10 to 12 of them can challenge for 4 stars, if they give enough time, given the talent that's in the ring for that match, for those matchups. There are going to be some awesome matches. There's a potential match of the year contender on the main event of night 2 between Mayu Iwatani and presumably Shuri, and like it's going to be a big deal. I think they're like going to sell more tickets than a lot of people expect for both nights at Sumo Hall. So yeah, like So I'm going to get off this call with you after we're done, and I'm going to start typing that up, and I'm going to try to get it ready for tomorrow morning.
Well, wish James luck in his writing endeavours. I obviously know what it's like. Anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's Damn as in Damn. You can follow James on Twitter at JamesBoyd80. Oh, is it 7? Yes.
Yes, 87.
Yeah, I trust myself now to actually know this. I don't believe myself. Also, there's my Twitch, The Implications with 2 S's. I always say that I promise to try and make an effort to actually use it, but I have failed again. Again, there's shit going on. I'm a bit busy. So, yeah. Anyway, also One Nation Radio, Social Suplex. Check all those out, if you will. With that, I say enjoy WrestleMania week. The schedule has been put out. Jesus Christ, I need luck. It's a busy schedule. I don't know how I'm going to do Friday/Saturday, and I don't know if I just need to completely drop any pretense that I'll watch NXT. It's just so much going on. I don't know if it's even possible. How on earth do I have Hall of Fame, SmackDown, and Rampage, and watched it all by NXT, and have an actual life on the Saturday? That's things to do during the day. I don't know if it's possible. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to sign off before I ramble on too much. So with that, I say thank you for watching, engaging in any form, in any manner. Always appreciate it, never take it for granted. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.